What if I told you that the most powerful moment for transforming your entire reality happens every single night, right before you fall asleep, and 99% of Americans are completely wasting it? While millions of people across the country spend thousands of dollars on seminars, self-help books, and manifestation courses, searching desperately for the secret to abundance and prosperity, they're ignoring the most potent window for consciousness expansion that exists, those precious minutes when your mind drifts between waking and sleeping. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization exercises you do during the day when your critical mind is fully engaged and skeptical. This is about accessing a state of consciousness that quantum physics researchers are now calling the manifestation sweet spot, where your subconscious becomes incredibly receptive to new programming, where your higher self can literally redesign your reality while you rest. The spiritual teacher Neville Goddard discovered this secret decades ago, and those who've mastered his technique report manifestations so rapid and precise that they seem almost supernatural, new careers appearing within weeks, perfect relationships materializing out of nowhere, financial breakthroughs arriving through unexpected channels. But here's what nobody tells you about manifestation work, and this might shock you: most people fail not because they lack desire or dedication, but because they're using techniques at the wrong time and in the wrong state of consciousness. You've probably tried morning affirmations, vision boards, and countless visualization exercises during your busy day, only to feel frustrated when nothing changes in your external reality. The reason these methods often fall short has nothing to do with your worthiness or spiritual capacity. It's because you're trying to plant seeds in concrete instead of fertile soil. Your conscious mind, with all its logic and doubt, acts like a security guard that blocks most manifestation attempts before they can reach your subconscious. But there's a brief window each night when this guard goes off duty, when your analytical mind relaxes its grip, and your imagination gains direct access to the creative forces of the universe. Neville Goddard called this state the gateway to manifestation, and what you're about to discover will completely revolutionize how you approach co-creation and spiritual transformation. The technique you're about to learn tonight isn't just another manifestation method, it's the foundation that underlies every success story you've ever heard, every overnight breakthrough that seemed to come from nowhere, every person who appears to have been blessed with extraordinary luck or divine favor. From Silicon Valley executives to small-town teachers, from struggling artists to thriving entrepreneurs, those who consistently manifest their desires share one secret practice that they rarely discuss publicly: they've learned to use their pre-sleep state as a laboratory for reality creation. This approach works because it aligns with how your brain naturally functions, taking advantage of specific brainwave states that occur as you transition into sleep, states that make your subconscious mind incredibly impressionable and responsive to new patterns. Joe Dispenza's research on neuroplasticity confirms what Neville taught decades ago, that consciousness can literally rewire reality when applied at the right time and in the right way, and that this rewiring happens most effectively during the liminal state between wake and sleep. What makes this particular technique so powerful is that it requires no special skills, no expensive equipment, no complicated rituals, just your willingness to use those final minutes before sleep with conscious intention instead of letting them slip away mindlessly. Yet the simplicity is deceptive, because you're about to access the same creative principle that governs how the universe itself operates, the same force that shapes galaxies and orchestrates synchronicities in your daily life. Eckhart Tolle often speaks about presence and awareness, but even he acknowledges that certain moments offer greater potential for transformation than others, and the threshold between consciousness and sleep represents perhaps the most potent opportunity for spiritual evolution that exists. Tonight, instead of scrolling through your phone or letting worry thoughts dominate your pre-sleep minutes, you'll discover how to become a conscious architect of your own reality, using your imagination not as an escape from life but as the very tool through which life itself is created. The implications of what you're about to learn extend far beyond personal manifestation. They touch on the fundamental nature of reality itself, on your role as a co-creator with the divine spark that animates all existence. This isn't just about getting what you want, It's about awakening to who you truly are and what you're capable of when you align your consciousness with the creative forces of the universe. The specific techniques you'll discover tonight have been tested by thousands of people across America and around the world, producing results that range from seemingly small synchronicities to life-altering transformations that defy conventional explanation. Some people manifest their desires within days, others within weeks or months, but everyone who applies these methods with consistency reports a profound shift in how they experience reality: more synchronicities, increased intuition, greater sense of purpose, and an unshakable knowing that they are active participants in creating their own experience rather than passive victims of circumstance. But before we dive into these specific techniques, you need to understand the one crucial element that determines whether manifestation happens quickly or slowly, easily, or with struggle. There's a sacred window that opens every single night, right here in America. From the bustling streets of New York to the quiet suburbs of Ohio, a moment when your consciousness becomes incredibly receptive to transformation. This liminal state, that precious threshold between wakefulness and sleep, represents what quantum physics researchers are now calling one of the most powerful moments for consciousness expansion. As you lie in your bed tonight, whether it's in a downtown Chicago apartment or a ranch house in Texas, your subconscious mind becomes like fertile soil, ready to receive the seeds of your deepest desires. The great spiritual teacher Neville Goddard, whose teachings have influenced millions of Americans seeking their higher self, described this state as the moment when the divine spark within you is most receptive to impression. This isn't just mystical poetry, it's a doorway to co-creation that most people walk past every single night without realizing its incredible potential. Your spiritual journey begins to accelerate when you understand that this twilight consciousness operates on a completely different vibration than your ordinary waking state. Think about those moments just before sleep when your mind starts to drift. Perhaps you're remembering a conversation from earlier, or your thoughts begin to wander to tomorrow's plans. During these precious minutes, your brain waves shift into what scientists call the alpha and theta states, the same frequencies that spiritual energy healers and meditation masters spend years trying to access. Neville Goddard taught that sleep conceals the creative act while the objective world reveals it, meaning that what you plant in this drowsy state literally shapes the events of your tomorrow. This is why so many successful Americans, from entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley to spiritual seekers in Portland, have discovered that their most profound manifestations began not with morning affirmations or daytime visualization, but with what they impressed upon their minds as they drifted into sleep. The universe responds to the vibration you emit during this transitional state with an accuracy that would astound most people. When Joe Dispenza talks about changing your energy to change your life, he's referring to exactly this principle. Your consciousness becomes like a radio transmitter, broadcasting the frequency of your desired reality into the quantum field. Imagine lying in your bedroom tonight, whether it's overlooking the Pacific in California or facing the Atlantic in Maine, and knowing that the images you hold in your mind during those drowsy moments are literally programming tomorrow's experiences. Neville understood this so deeply that he would tell his students, "The world is yourself pushed out," meaning that external reality is simply a reflection of your internal impressions, especially those made during this highly suggestible state. This is why people who consistently use this window for conscious creation often report synchronicities and manifestations that seem almost magical. They're simply working in harmony with the natural laws of consciousness expansion. Most Americans go to sleep each night completely unaware that they're missing out on what could be the most transformative minutes of their entire day. While you're scrolling through your phone or watching late-night TV, this powerful state of receptivity is slipping away like sand through your fingers. Eckhart Tolle often speaks about presence and awareness, but even he acknowledges that there are certain moments when consciousness is more malleable, more ready for transformation, and this threshold between wake and sleep is perhaps the most potent of all. Consider this: every single night for your entire life, you've had access to a state where your subconscious mind is wide open, ready to accept new programming, ready to align with abundance and prosperity. Yet how many of those nights have you used intentionally, with purpose, knowing that you are co-creating your reality with every image and feeling you allowed into your awareness as sleep approached. The implications of this knowledge should make you pause and reconsider everything you thought you knew about manifestation and spiritual growth. Tonight, as millions of Americans across all 50 states prepare for sleep, most will waste this golden opportunity, letting their minds wander aimlessly or filling them with worries about tomorrow's meetings or yesterday's regrets. But you now understand something that separates conscious creators from passive dreamers, that this liminal state is where true transformation begins, where your divine spark connects most directly with the infinite possibilities of the universe. Neville Goddard revealed that imagination is the creative power, but he also taught that imagination is most effective when the critical mind is quiet, when logic steps aside and allows feeling to take the lead. This is precisely what happens during that drowsy state, when your analytical mind relaxes its grip and your heart's desires can finally reach your subconscious without interference, but knowing this is only the beginning of what's possible when you learn to harness this state with specific, proven techniques. The beauty of Neville Goddard's approach lies in its elegant simplicity. He taught that you don't need complex rituals or hours of meditation to create profound shifts in your reality. Picture this. You're lying in your bed tonight, whether it's in a cozy apartment in Denver or a suburban home in Atlanta, and instead of letting your mind wander aimlessly, you begin to craft a short, simple scene that represents your desire already fulfilled. This isn't about elaborate Hollywood productions in your mind. Neville emphasized that the most powerful visualizations are often just a few seconds long, containing only the essential elements that would naturally occur if your wish were already real. Think of a friend congratulating you on your promotion, feeling the warmth of their handshake, hearing the genuine excitement in their voice. The quantum physics behind this technique reveals that your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, which means you're literally programming your neural pathways for success as you drift towards sleep. What transforms this simple visualization from mere daydreaming into a powerful tool for consciousness expansion is the emotional component, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Neville would often tell his students in his famous lectures across America, from Los Angeles to New York, that feeling is the secret, meaning that the sensory richness and emotional satisfaction you experience in your imaginal scene is what impresses your subconscious most deeply. Imagine you're seeking prosperity and abundance. Don't just see yourself with more money, but feel the relief that comes with financial security. Taste the celebration dinner you'd have, smell the leather of that new car you've been wanting. Your higher self responds not to the mental pictures themselves, but to the vibration of fulfillment that accompanies them. This is why Joe Dispenza emphasizes elevated emotions in his work. When you can genuinely feel grateful, joyful, or peaceful about something that hasn't yet manifested physically, you're aligning your spiritual energy with the frequency of having rather than wanting. The repetitive nature of this technique works because it creates what neuroscientists call neural grooves, pathways in your brain that become stronger with repetition, like walking the same path through a field until it becomes a well-worn trail. As you loop this same short scene over and over while falling asleep, perhaps replaying that moment of your boss announcing your promotion or feeling your perfect partner's hand in yours, you're essentially training your subconscious to expect this reality. Neville taught that repetition of the same imaginal act until it takes on the tones of reality is the key to manifestation, and modern research on neuroplasticity confirms that our brains are constantly rewiring based on repeated experiences, whether real or imagined. This is particularly powerful during that drowsy state because your critical mind, which normally questions and doubts, becomes quiet, allowing your imagination to work without interference. Successful spiritual practitioners across America, from Silicon Valley executives to Midwest teachers, have discovered that consistency in this simple practice often produces results that seem miraculous to outside observers. The step-by-step process is refreshingly straightforward, which is precisely why it works so effectively for busy Americans juggling careers, families, and personal growth. First, as you settle into bed, create a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled, not you getting what you want, but you having what you want and others recognizing it. Second, Make this scene sensory-rich. If you're manifesting a new home, don't just see it, but feel the cool doorknob in your hand, hear the sound of your key turning in the lock, smell the fresh paint or familiar scents that make it feel like home. Third, and this is crucial, experience the natural emotions that would accompany this fulfilled state: the satisfaction, the gratitude, the sense of it is finished. Fourth, replay this exact same scene repeatedly as you fall asleep, like a gentle mental loop that carries you into your dreams. The universe responds to this consistent vibration by rearranging circumstances, opening doors, and creating synchronicities that bring your imagined scene into physical reality, often in ways more perfect than you could have planned with your conscious mind. What makes this technique particularly powerful is that it works regardless of your current circumstances or how impossible your desire might seem to your logical mind. Neville shared countless stories of students who used this method to manifest everything from career changes to healing relationships, from financial breakthroughs to geographical moves across the country. The beauty is that you're not trying to force anything or manipulate anyone, you're simply aligning your consciousness with a different possibility, allowing the natural laws of creation to work through you. Your spiritual journey accelerates because you're no longer a passive observer of your life, but an active co-creator, using the most receptive moments of each day to plant seeds of transformation. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you have the opportunity to move beyond hoping and wishing into actually experiencing the feeling of your desires fulfilled, and once your subconscious accepts this new pattern as real, your outer world has no choice but to reflect this inner shift, though the specific method by which this transformation occurs might surprise you in ways you never expected. Among all of Neville Goddard's teachings, there's one exercise that consistently amazes even the most skeptical Americans: a simple visualization involving a single rose that has produced countless coincidences from coast to coast. This technique serves as both a training ground for your imagination and undeniable proof that your consciousness can influence physical reality in ways that defy conventional logic. Picture yourself tonight, whether you're in a high-rise in Miami or a farmhouse in Iowa, engaging in what might seem like child's play but operates on the profound principles of quantum physics and consciousness expansion. Neville would challenge his students with this exercise because he knew that once they experienced success with something as simple as a rose, their faith in larger manifestations would become unshakable. The beauty of this technique lies not in its complexity, but in its ability to demonstrate that your higher self can orchestrate experiences that your logical mind would consider impossible, opening doorways to abundance and co-creation that most people never realize exist. The secret to the rose technique isn't in seeing the flower with your mind's eye, it's in feeling it with every sense you possess, creating an experience so vivid that your subconscious believes it's real. When Neville taught this method in his lectures across America, from the spiritual seekers in California to the pragmatic businesspeople in New York, he emphasized that you must smell the rose's sweet fragrance, feel the velvet softness of its petals against your skin, notice the subtle variations in color from deep crimson to soft pink. Your spiritual energy responds not to mental concepts but to sensory experiences, which is why Joe Dispenza talks about becoming the experience you want to create rather than simply thinking about it. As you imagine holding this rose, perhaps sitting in your favorite chair or walking through Central Park, you're not just daydreaming, you're activating the same neural networks that would fire if you were actually touching, smelling, and seeing a real rose. This sensory richness creates what Eckhart Tolle might call presence, a state where your consciousness is fully absorbed in the now moment of experience, even if that experience exists only in your imagination. What makes this technique so compelling is Neville's bold promise: everyone who practices the rose visualization with genuine feeling will encounter roses in their physical reality within days. This isn't metaphorical or symbolic. People report receiving unexpected bouquets, noticing roses in places they've never seen them before, finding rose-scented items, or having friends mention roses in conversation for no apparent reason. The universe responds to your inner state with such precision that these encounters feel almost magical, yet they're simply demonstrations of how co-creation works when you align your consciousness with a specific outcome. Across America, From spiritual communities in Sedona to corporate offices in Chicago, people have tested this technique and discovered that their external world begins to mirror their internal imagery with uncanny accuracy. This happens because you're not trying to manipulate reality from the outside, you're changing your vibration from within, and reality naturally reorganizes itself to match your new frequency, like tuning forks that resonate in harmony when one is struck. The real revelation comes when you realize that the same principle governing the rose technique applies to everything you desire in life: your dream career, ideal relationship, perfect health, or financial prosperity. If you can successfully impress your subconscious with the sensory experience of a rose and see it manifest in days, what's stopping you from applying the same method to bigger goals? This is where most people's spiritual journey takes a quantum leap, because they suddenly understand that manifestation isn't about begging the universe for favors or hoping for lucky breaks. It's about becoming so clear and consistent in your inner experience that your outer world has no choice but to conform. When you can feel the texture of success, smell the fragrance of abundance, taste the sweetness of love fulfilled, you're operating from the same creative principles that Neville discovered and taught throughout his life. The rose serves as training wheels for your imagination, proving that you have the power to influence reality through consciousness alone, building your confidence for more significant creations. This technique works so reliably that it becomes a cornerstone of faith for anyone serious about conscious creation, demonstrating that your divine spark is always connected to infinite possibilities. The simplicity is deceptive. By focusing all your senses on experiencing a single rose as vividly as possible, you're actually learning to collapse the wave function of quantum possibilities into specific outcomes, exactly as quantum physics suggests consciousness can do. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you might find yourself curious about testing this method, wondering if you'll be among the countless Americans who've discovered roses appearing in their lives after just a few days of practice. The technique requires nothing more than your willingness to engage your imagination fully, to feel rather than just think, to experience rather than merely visualize. Yet what it reveals about your ability to co-create reality goes far beyond flowers and fragrance. It opens doorways to understanding how every aspect of your life responds to the quality of your inner experience, though what you'll discover about physical sensations and manifestation might challenge everything you thought you knew about the limitations of imagination. For those Americans who find traditional visualization challenging, and this includes millions of people from all walks of life, from engineers in Detroit to artists in Portland, Neville Goddard offered a revolutionary alternative that works with your body's natural wisdom instead of against it. Many people struggle with mental imagery, feeling frustrated when spiritual teachers tell them to just visualize their desires, not realizing that their minds might be wired differently, preferring kinesthetic experiences over visual ones. This physical sensation technique acknowledges that consciousness expansion doesn't require a vivid inner movie screen. Sometimes the most profound spiritual journey begins with simply paying attention to what your body is already feeling as you lie in bed each night. Your higher self communicates through multiple channels, and for some, the language of physical sensation speaks more clearly than mental pictures ever could. The beauty of this approach is that it meets you exactly where you are, using the immediate reality of your physical experience as a bridge to co-creation with the universe. The technique itself is elegantly simple yet profoundly effective, working with the natural sensations you experience every time you settle into bed for sleep. As you lie there tonight, whether in a studio apartment in Boston or a ranch house in Arizona, begin by noticing how your body feels against the mattress, the pressure points, the temperature, the weight of your limbs relaxing into rest. Now, instead of trying to visualize being somewhere else, simply imagine that these same physical sensations belong to a different version of your reality. If you're seeking prosperity and abundance, feel your body resting not in your current bedroom, but in the master suite of your dream home, sensing the luxury of higher thread count sheets, the spaciousness of a larger room, the satisfaction of having achieved financial success. Your spiritual energy responds to this felt sense of being there just as powerfully as it would to vivid mental imagery, because your subconscious mind receives information through all channels, not just the visual ones that get the most attention in manifestation teachings. What makes this approach particularly powerful is that it bypasses the analytical mind's tendency to question and doubt visual imagery, working instead with sensations that feel immediately real and present. Joe Dispenza often speaks about becoming the person who already is what you desire, and this technique allows you to literally embody that identity through physical feeling rather than mental effort. Imagine lying in your bed but feeling as though you're sharing it with your ideal partner, sensing their warmth beside you, feeling the contentment and love that radiates through your body when you're with the right person. Your consciousness doesn't distinguish between imagined sensations and real ones when they're experienced with sufficient intensity and repetition, which is why people using this method often report that their manifestations feel natural and inevitable when they arrive, as if their bodies were already familiar with the experience of having their desires fulfilled. Neville understood that feeling is the secret, and for many people, physical sensation provides the most direct pathway to that crucial emotional state. This technique proves especially effective for those who've become discouraged by traditional visualization methods, opening doorways to conscious creation that they never knew existed. Across America, from busy professionals in Manhattan to stay-at-home parents in suburban neighborhoods, people have discovered that their bodies are incredibly sophisticated instruments for tuning into different realities. When you're seeking career advancement, feel your body sitting in that corner office chair, sense the confidence that comes with increased responsibility, experience the physical relaxation that accompanies financial security. When you're calling in better health, feel your body strong and energetic, sense the vitality flowing through every cell, experience the physical joy of movement without pain or limitation. Your divine spark expresses itself through your physical form, and when you consciously align your bodily sensations with your desired reality, you're working with one of the most fundamental aspects of co-creation, the unity of spirit and matter, consciousness and form. The remarkable thing about this physical sensation approach is how quickly it can produce shifts in your external circumstances, often catching people off guard with its effectiveness. Neville taught countless students who couldn't visualize effectively but found tremendous success when they learned to work with their body's innate wisdom instead of fighting against their natural tendencies. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you have the opportunity to discover whether this kinesthetic pathway to manifestation resonates with your unique consciousness, whether your spiritual journey accelerates when you honor your body as a vehicle for creation rather than an obstacle to overcome. The quantum physics behind this technique reveals that consciousness and matter are far more intimately connected than most people realize. When you change the felt sense of your physical experience, you're literally altering the vibrational frequency that attracts corresponding experiences in your external world. Yet mastering any of these techniques requires something that many people struggle with in our instant gratification culture, something that separates those who achieve lasting transformation from those who give up after a few attempts. The difference between those who experience miraculous transformations and those who dismiss these techniques as wishful thinking comes down to one crucial element that has nothing to do with talent, education, or circumstances. It's the willingness to show up consistently, night after night, regardless of immediate results. In our fast-paced American culture, where we expect Amazon deliveries within days and instant responses to text messages, the spiritual journey of consciousness expansion requires a different kind of patience, one that honors the natural timing of manifestation while maintaining unwavering faith in the process. Neville Goddard taught that persistence assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled, meaning that your commitment to the practice itself becomes part of the creative force, demonstrating to your higher self and the universe that you're serious about co-creation. Whether you're in a bustling city like Seattle or a quiet town in Montana, the same principle applies. Those who achieve lasting abundance and prosperity are not necessarily the most gifted visualizers, but rather the most consistent practitioners who understand that spiritual energy builds momentum over time. What makes this commitment sustainable is understanding that manifestation operates on divine timing, not human scheduling, and that every night of practice is valuable regardless of whether you see immediate physical changes. Some people experience results within days, their desired job offer arrives, their perfect partner appears, their health improves dramatically, while others find that their reality shifts more gradually over weeks or months, like a slow-motion miracle unfolding in perfect sequence. Joe Dispenza often reminds his students that the quantum field doesn't operate on our timeline but on the optimal timing for our highest good, which means that delays aren't denials but rather careful orchestrations designed to bring us exactly what we need when we're ready to receive it. Your spiritual journey unfolds at its own pace, and trusting this process actually accelerates your results because you're not creating resistance through impatience or doubt. Successful manifestors across America, from entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley to healers in small Midwestern towns, have learned that consistency trumps intensity. Better to practice these techniques gently every night than to do them intensely for a week and then abandon them when immediate results don't appear. The beauty of this long-term approach is that it transforms not just your external circumstances but your entire relationship with life itself, turning you into someone who lives from trust rather than fear. As you commit to these nightly practices, whether using visualization, physical sensations, or the rose technique, you begin to notice subtle changes in your daily experience. Synchronicities increase, opportunities appear more frequently, people respond to you differently, and you develop an inner knowing that your desires are already on their way. This shift in consciousness is often more valuable than the specific manifestations themselves because it establishes you as a conscious co-creator rather than a passive victim of circumstances. Eckhart Tolle speaks about the power of presence, and this daily commitment to imaginal practice creates a profound presence with your future self, the version of you who already has what you desire. Your vibration naturally elevates when you spend time each night feeling grateful for blessings that haven't yet appeared in physical form, and this elevated state attracts experiences that match your new frequency. Part of maintaining this commitment involves normalizing the fact that everyone's manifestation timeline is unique, removing the pressure to achieve results within a specific time frame and allowing the process to unfold naturally. Some Americans discover that their most cherished desires manifest almost immediately, while others find that the universe takes time to rearrange circumstances, dissolve obstacles, and prepare them to receive what they've requested. Neither experience is better or worse, they're simply different expressions of how consciousness expansion works for different individuals at different stages of their spiritual journey. What matters most is that you trust your higher self to coordinate the perfect timing and circumstances for your manifestations, knowing that every night of practice is an investment in your future reality. The divine spark within you knows exactly what you need and when you need it, and your job is simply to maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled while allowing infinite intelligence to handle the details of manifestation. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this commitment is discovering that the practice itself becomes a source of joy and peace, transforming your relationship with sleep from mere rest into a sacred time of conscious creation. Instead of ending each day feeling tired or overwhelmed, you begin to approach bedtime with anticipation, knowing that you're about to engage in the most important work of your life, the reshaping of reality through imagination and feeling. Neville taught that man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness, which means that these nightly practices aren't just hopeful exercises but actual causal activities that set forces in motion. Your spiritual energy becomes a magnet for experiences that match your inner state, and as you consistently align with the feeling of your desires fulfilled, you become a living prayer, a walking manifestation of your highest possibilities. Tonight, as you prepare to begin or continue this practice, you're joining a tradition of conscious creators who've discovered that the kingdom of heaven, abundance, love, health, and prosperity isn't something you enter after death, but something you create each night as you fall asleep. Though what happens when you combine all these techniques with unwavering faith might just revolutionize everything you thought possible in your life. So here's the truth that separates dreamers from achievers, the reality that changes everything once you truly grasp it. You now possess the exact same tools that have transformed millions of lives across America, from struggling single mothers in Detroit who manifested their dream homes to burned-out executives in Manhattan who created their ideal careers. These aren't just techniques, they're keys to the quantum field itself, methods that align your consciousness with the creative forces that govern reality. Every single night for the rest of your life, you'll have access to that sacred window between wake and sleep, that moment when your subconscious becomes incredibly receptive to new programming. The question isn't whether these methods work. Countless Americans have already proven they do. The question is whether you'll actually use them, whether you'll commit to becoming the conscious architect of your own reality instead of remaining a passive observer of circumstances that seem to happen to you rather than through you. Think about this for a moment. What would your life look like 6 months from now if you applied these techniques every single night? What would change if you spent those precious pre-sleep minutes impressing your subconscious with images and feelings of your desires already fulfilled instead of scrolling through social media or worrying about tomorrow's problems? Your higher self is waiting for you to step into your role as a co-creator with the universe, and these techniques are your invitation to that dance of consciousness expansion. Whether you choose the visualization loop, the rose technique, or the physical sensation method, you're working with the same fundamental principle that Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, and Neville Goddard have all taught in their own ways, that your inner state creates your outer world, that your spiritual energy attracts experiences that match your vibration, that you are literally the author of your own reality story. But knowledge without application is just entertainment, and I've seen too many people collect spiritual techniques like trophies without ever actually using them to create real change. Tonight, not next week, not when you feel more motivated, not when your circumstances improve. Tonight is when your transformation begins. As you lie in bed tonight, whether you're in a small apartment or a sprawling mansion, you have the opportunity to plant the seeds of a completely different reality. Will you use it? Will you finally stop waiting for life to happen to you and start making it happen through you? The divine spark within you is ready to create miracles, but it needs your conscious participation, your willingness to feel the wish fulfilled even when your current circumstances suggest otherwise. Here's what I want you to do right now, before you forget, before doubt creeps in, before you convince yourself you'll start tomorrow. Commit to practicing one of these techniques for the next 7 nights. Choose the method that resonated most strongly with you. Maybe it was the simple visualization loop, perhaps the playful rose technique, or the physical sensation approach that bypassed your analytical mind. For just 1 week, give yourself the gift of conscious creation, and watch how your external world begins to shift in response to your inner changes. But more importantly, notice how you change, how you start to move through life with greater confidence, knowing that you're not at the mercy of random circumstances but are actively participating in the creation of your experience. If this video has opened your eyes to possibilities you never considered before, if you're excited about finally having practical tools for manifestation that actually work, then hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're just getting started on this journey of consciousness expansion. Next week, I'll be sharing advanced techniques for accelerating your manifestations, including Neville's secret method for collapsing time between desire and fulfillment, and the quantum physics principles that explain why some people manifest instantly while others wait months. Your spiritual journey is about to accelerate in ways you never imagined possible, but only if you commit to showing up consistently, practicing these techniques with faith and persistence, and trusting that your higher self knows exactly how to bring your desires into physical reality. The universe is waiting for your response. What will you choose to create tonight?